Hi, this is Wisdom's sister. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, you might be thinking, why is she dressed as a ghost? That's because this is my role, to haunt you, but in a fun and friendly way, so you can become the best version of yourself. So, grab your favorite drink and snacks, get comfortable, and let's begin. Have you ever looked back at a terrible decision and thought, what was I thinking? Maybe you stay in a relationship way too long. Maybe you quit a job just to prove a point. Or maybe you just bought something ridiculously expensive that you didn't need. And later, when the dust settled, you realized something uncomfortable. You weren't making decisions. Your ego was. Now, this might sound dramatic, but I think making important life decisions purely to feed your ego is surprisingly similar to driving under the influence. Yes, a DUI. Stay with me. When someone drinks and gets behind the wheel, their judgment becomes impaired. They think they're driving normally. They think they're making good decisions, but everyone else can see they're not. The scary part? The same thing happens when your ego takes the wheel. The ego convinces you that you're being strong when you're actually being stubborn. It convinces you that you're defending your dignity when you're actually protecting your pride. It convinces you that you're winning when you're slowly destroying the very thing you wanted to protect. And just like alcohol, ego affects perception before it affects consequences. At first, everything feels fine. You feel powerful, certain, untouchable. Then, reality sends you the invoice because ego doesn't ask, what's the best decision? It asks, how do I avoid looking weak? And those are two very different questions. Think about how many decisions happen because people don't want to appear wrong. People stay in failing businesses because admitting failure hurts their pride. People stay in toxic relationships because living feels like losing. People refuse to apologize because their ego values being right more than being effective. Imagine a GPS. A healthy mind asks, what's the fastest route to my destination? The ego says, I don't care if I'm lost. I'm not taking directions. And somehow, it expects to arrive anyway. One of the biggest misconceptions about ego is that it's only about arrogance. It's not. Sometimes ego wears a very different disguise. Sometimes it looks like insecurity. Sometimes it looks like needing constant validation. Sometimes it looks like being unable to handle criticism. But at its core, ego is simply an unhealthy attachment to the image you created for yourself. And whenever reality threatens that image, ego goes into defense mode. That's when people start making emotional decisions disguised as logical ones. And those decisions can cost years. Yes, years. The irony is that truly confident people don't need ego nearly as much. When you're secure, you can admit mistakes. You can change your mind. You can ask for help. You can say, you know what? I was wrong. And strangely enough, that's what actual strength looks like. Not pretending you're perfect. Not winning every argument. Not being the smartest person in the room. Just being mature enough to prioritize growth over image. So, how do you know if ego is driving? Here's a simple test. Before making a big decision, ask yourself, if nobody knew about this decision, would I still make the same choice? That's a powerful question because it removes the audience. It removes the applause. It removes the possibility of looking impressive. And suddenly, you're left with what actually matters, the decision itself. If your answer changes, there's a good chance your ego was involved. Now, I'm not saying ego is evil. A little ego helps us to build confidence. It can help you to take action, to believe that you're capable. But when ego becomes the driver instead of the passenger, problems begin. The goal isn't to eliminate your ego. The goal is to stop giving it the keys. Because in every major area of your life, relationships, money, health, happiness, every one of them can improve if your decisions are guided by reality rather than pride. And unlike a DUI, there isn't a police officer waiting to stop you. Life simply lets you keep driving, sometimes for years, until one day you wake up surrounded by consequences you never intended to create. So, the next time you're about to make a big decision, pause and ask, is this coming from wisdom? Or is my ego driving under the influence? Because one of those paths builds your life, and the other slowly crashes it. Remember, my goal is to create a real and authentic experience for you. Something that feels less like a polished production and more like a genuine conversation between friends. That's why you won't find fancy cuts, dramatic transitions, or heavy addition here. Aside from the cartoon style format, what you see is what you get. Real thoughts, real ideas, and honest conversations. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe. For one-on-one coaching, find more information in the description box. See you in the next video.